On this episode of Cape Media News, the stories of local fishermen take to the stage in Cape Cod Community College's newest production, Boundless. Women are given a voice at the CCISCW Open Forum in Hyannis, and CCYP celebrates young professionals at their 14th annual breakfast. These stories and more, this is Cape Media News. This is Cape Media News, your local authentic newscast for Cape Cod. I'm Gabrielle Rawson. Thank you for watching. The Massachusetts State Senate passed the PACT Act yesterday. The Pharmaceutical Access, Costs, and Transparency Act is comprehensive pharmaceutical cost control legislation that aims to address the high and rapidly increasing costs of prescription drugs. The bill offers immediate price relief for insulin, a life-sustaining drug for the 1 in 10 Massachusetts residents living with diabetes, and contains enhanced accountability tools to address the prohibitive costs of high-priced medications. The bill was passed with bipartisan support and seeks to bring needed relief to families across the Commonwealth. You can track the bill S2397 online at malegislature.gov. In local news, a Cape-wide sticker shock campaign will take place Saturday, November 14th, to remind parents and adults not to buy alcohol for minors. The towns of Falmouth, Bourne, Mashpee, and Yarmouth will shock adults by placing more than 10,000 warning stickers on multi-packs of beer and other alcohol products throughout local stores. Project Sticker Shock is a national campaign that serves to remind adults in a simple yet effective way that there are health and legal risks involved in providing alcohol to minors. To find out how you can participate, visit barnstablecounty.org. On Veterans Day, the Barnstable Comedy Club held a special guest performance of The American Soldier, a solo show that was written and performed by Douglas Terrell. The play is based on letters from real soldiers and is meant to honor the sacrifices veterans and their families have made. Terrell's one-man show has been enjoyed by audiences across the country and has received many accolades for its excellence. Emily Tulloch reports.
On Veterans Day, the Barnstable Comedy Club hosted a special one-man production of The American Soldier, performed and written by Douglas Terrell. The story is based off real letters from soldiers and features characters from the American Revolution through to the war in Afghanistan. It serves to honor the sacrifices veterans and their families make for this country and to show the difficulties they faced after coming home.
I started it as a project when we were heavily in the Middle East, and I was reading a lot of stories about vets coming home and struggling with PTSD or they're having financial troubles. So I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to share people what their sacrifice was and what commitment was. And it started as a kind of like a small project. I never thought it would have the legs that it has today. And most of my source material came from the New York Public Library. I would go to the New York Public Library and I would research veteran letters. And there's a plethora of books regarding veteran letters from every race, gender, color you can think of, from every war. And so I would just photocopy letters that moved me, and then I would create a pile of them. And then I would tell people about it, and then they would tell me about their letters, and then people would send me to podcasts, and they would send me to websites that contain letters.
I think of the times I must have wondered how scared and homesick you must have been in that strange country called Vietnam.
You know, the creation of this process just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Here we are. I've been performing it professionally for about 6 years. I've probably done it for over 10 to 15,000 audience and veterans. It's been to 13 states, 16 or 17 cities.
Veterans who've watched the show have noted how accurate the characters and scenarios are.
The accuracy comes mainly because I'm using their words. And, you know, over the time of the play, you know, I've been giving little notes by different veterans who've seen the play.
Get your hands up in the air! Aye, sir! I said, get your hands down! Aye, sir! I said, get your hands up in the air! Aye, sir! Get your hands down!
You know, I get letters all the time from veterans and family members who are veterans from Blue Star, Gold Star families, and They just say thank you for honoring them, because a lot of them feel that the rest of the nation is completely forgot about them, and they're not willing to really to understand what their sacrifice and commitment has been. And I think we as a society, as an American society, we should know that. We can have many differences regarding politics and beliefs and opinions, but that's, I think, one thing I think every American can believe in and can agree that, you know, men and women of every ilk, race, and color have put on the uniform to defend this country that we call America.
Douglas especially connected with one particular character in the show.
I understand the guy who's addicted to war really well, you know. And I understand how you can be really, you can miss that adrenaline to a point where it's hard to get rid of, you know, like a drug addiction. I can understand that, and I can only imagine what it must be like to fire a 50 caliber machine gun and to be with a bunch of your brothers and your friends who you've fought for and you've sacrificed for. And like the guy says, you know, 20 minutes of combat is probably more life than you can scrape together in a lifetime of doing something else. So a guy who's been in combat to go work a normal job, how do you adjust?
Visit theamericansoldiersoloshow.com for more information. In Barnstable, for Cape Media News, I'm Emily Tellick.
To learn more about the American Soldier or to find out where it's playing next, visit theamericansoldiersoloshow.com. Up next, the Cape Cod Young Professionals hold their 14th annual breakfast. Nobody wants to litter. Sometimes it just happens. But it's easy to stop trash from turning into litter. Together, if we're all just a little more careful, we can achieve a litter-free Cape Cod. For more information, visit nocapelitter.org. Are you a young professional looking to expand your network or skill set? Then the Cape Cod Young Professionals may be the answer you're looking for. Their mission is to connect, engage, and retain Cape Cod's emerging workforce. Last week, CCYP invited the Cape's young professional community to their 14th annual breakfast, where business leaders and local government stakeholders discussed insights and updates related to regional workforce retention and development, the state of the job market, and civic engagement. Emily Tulloch reports.
An aging workforce on Cape Cod requires active young professionals be ready and qualified to take over in the coming years. But due to the seasonality and limited job options, finding a career as a young person can be intimidating. But there is hope. The Cape Cod Young Professionals, also known as CCYP, was established in 2005 and are devoted to providing career development and civic engagement opportunities to young people and future leaders living on Cape Cod. They held their 14th annual community breakfast, where individuals of all ages, organizations, and businesses attended to discuss the local workforce challenges and opportunities.
So Cape Cod Young Professionals, CCYP, is an organization that was created to advance, connect, and engage the young professionals here on Cape Cod. This is the 14th annual community breakfast of CCYP. Every year we come together, have an event like this where we like to give our membership an overview of what we've been doing for the past year and really highlight our big achievements and what we've accomplished.
Rogers Gray is a big supporter of CCYP. Actually, two of us sitting at that table, we're on the founding board of directors, and we continue to support the organization certainly for all the good works that they do here on the Cape, but really from a recruiting angle for us, trying to find engaged young professionals on the Cape to join our organization.
So, what are some unique challenges that young professionals face on Cape Cod?
The young professionals, which we've loosely defined as 45 and under, we don't really stay here on Cape Cod. A lot of people move away. So Cape Cod Young Professionals was really founded to make sure that we were retaining that young workforce here on the Cape. It's very hard, from what we've seen, to be able to find work, establish a family, all sorts of things like that when you're in this younger demographic here on the Cape. It's just the support networks aren't necessarily there, the opportunities aren't necessarily there. So CCYP was really founded in order to fill that niche, in order to connect the younger workforce with that. With the rest of the Cape Cod community. There's just a lot of lesser job opportunities. Just again, the dynamic here is just very different than the rest of Massachusetts. Two of the bigger things that we face, which are more connected to, which are kind of ancillary to problems with the workforce, are problems with childcare and problems with housing. So housing affordability around here and accessibility is one of those things that is harder for our young professionals to be able to meet. So we've been advocating for things such as the accessory dwelling units, more housing and accessibility on Cape Cod so that our younger workforce actually has a place where they can live here on the Cape while they're working here. And the other thing is childcare. Again, we're promoting the accessibility of affordable childcare around here because it's one of the same problems that you see nationwide, that a lot of our younger workforce can't actually afford to work and have their kids in childcare, if they can even find childcare at all, because around here, as you know, on Cape, it's very limited supply of childcare.
There are good jobs out there to be had. I mean, it's if you talk to any employer here on the Cape, it's a challenge to find really great employees, engaged employees, but housing continues to be the number one issue that that we're seeing from a young professional standpoint.
Rosalina Costa, Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development for Massachusetts, spoke about the obstacles of an aging workforce.
And between 2010 and 2016, and this is really important for my friends at CCYP, the 25 to 44-year-old population on the Cape has declined by 10%, while those over 60 has increased by 13%. So that can be a very daunting statistic for us, as we need more workers because we have more retiring workers. We have fewer young people.
If you're a young professional seeking to network and build your career, CCYP is a great starting place.
This is an amazing event, amazing organization. It's how I got my start, meeting a lot of people here on Cape, and I would highly recommend coming to one of our after hours or one of our new Connect events.
Make sure that you're part of CCYP, because the connections that you're going to make through the organization really are going to lead you to the jobs that really sometimes just don't even get posted.
For more information, visit CapeCodYoungProfessionals.org. In Harwich, for Cape Media News, I'm Emily Tellick.
CCYP's next networking event will be held at the Cape Conservatory on Thursday, November 21st. For more information or to learn how you can get involved, find them on Facebook or visit CapeCodYoungProfessionals.org. A regional hearing and public testimony on women's issues was held Tuesday, November 12th in Hyannis. The Cape Cod and Islands Commission on Women's Issues held an open forum to learn more about the issues and concerns of women and their families on Cape Cod and the islands. Despite snow and freezing temperatures, the event was well attended by women of all ages. Cape Media News reports. If you're a woman, the Cape Cod and Islands Commission on the Status of Women wants to hear from you. The Commission recently held their regional hearing to gather public testimony and opinions on women's issues and concerns.
This is our 2019 public hearing. This is one of the things that we're tasked to do by the State Commission on the Status of Women. And every other year, we hold a public hearing and invite women in the community to come and share testimony, stories of concerns, struggles, things that are affecting their day-to-day lives.
The CCICSW hears testimony from women of all ages on a variety of subjects, from housing to childcare and everything in between.
We get a lot of stories. I mean, women are challenged with housing. We've got women who can't find housing. There are a lot of single moms. There are elderly women that might, run into housing issues as well. We have domestic violence issues that come up. We also have employment issues. It's hard to get and keep a job, or even to have a job that can support your family financially.
People are having trouble with getting their prescriptions, having money to pay for prescriptions, getting care, finding a PCP, a primary care doctor, finding mental health services has been really tough for people, as well as substance abuse services. So those two things that came out of our last hearing are what we've been trying to focus on for this past year and the coming year, and then we're going to add to that with whatever we hear from the hearing tonight.
The Commission is responsible for studying, reviewing, and reporting these regional stories to local and state legislators, who may use the information to create legislation.
So we compile a report of everything that we heard. We take notes during the hearing. We accept the written testimony, and then we compile all the issues that we hear for the hearing, and then we present that to the Massachusetts Commission for the Status of Women, and we also present that to our legislators here on the Cape so that they can advocate for the needs of the women.
State Rep Sarah Peak made it a point to attend Tuesday night's meeting.
So I'm here tonight to support the Commission. I actually filed the legislation to create the Cape Cod Commission on the Status of Women, support the organization statewide through funding in the budget and all of that. And I think it's critically important that they exist, whether we're talking about issues of children, economic opportunity, aging in place. To a certain degree, these aren't men's issues or women's issues, but broadly, they affect women more directly. And even though it's a snowy night, I think it's important for me to be here. I want to hear what people have to say, and there may be some legislative requests that come out of these meetings. So it's always good to kind of be boots on the ground.
The Cape Cod and Islands Commission on the Status of Women will continue to collect testimony in writing between now and Thanksgiving 2019. You can learn more by visiting ccicsw.com. In Hyannis, for Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson. The Cape and Islands Commission on the Status of Women is accepting written testimonials now through November 27, 2019. You can submit your response to ccicswinfo@gmail.com or learn more at ccicsw.org. Up next, the stories of local fishermen take to the stage.
My name is Deacon Dick Murphy, and I'm president of Homeless Not Hopeless. Beginning with a small rental in 2007, we now share 4 homes with 50 of our homeless neighbors, loving and redemptive settings where healing is possible, staffed and run by formerly homeless men and women. People don't become homeless without something terrible happening to them first. Traumas, mental illness, physical disabilities. Often in despair, they fall into a snare of addiction and depression. Who can understand these things better than people who have been loved back to life and are ready to lift their brothers and sisters? We are educational, teaching basic life skills needed for sober and independent living. Most work, attend school, or volunteer their time. Many reunite with their families and move into their own homes. None of this is free. In line with our motto, we offer a hand up, not a handout. We take no government funding. With only one paid employee, 99% of donations go directly to support our family members. Please help us to save the next 50 lives. Thank you.
Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Gabrielle Rawson. Well, it's no secret that part of Cape Cod's legacy is our fresh-caught fish. But did you know that our local fishermen are struggling just to keep fresh fish on the plate? A new play called Boundless is playing at Cape Cod Community College that explores these challenges by using the real-life stories and words of our local fishermen. I had a chance to attend this groundbreaking investigative play for myself. Cape Media News reports.
I
He reached for a napkin, he wrote down the terms, then we sealed it with shots and a butt at the squire. The vessel was mine, the scribble a pact, fueled by the liquor, but born from my desire to have the ocean my office, to commute while the sun catches fire.
Can art really imitate life? If it's documentary theater, the answer is yes. Boundless, an investigative play that explores the life, work, and history of Cape Cod fishermen, opened at Cape Cod Community College last weekend, giving audiences and students alike the chance to experience theater that has a connection to real life.
Wave came and just laid us sideways, just smashed her apart. Luckily, the harbor master came and got us out.
Boundless first premiered in 2017 at the Cape Rep Theater in Brewster. Tilden Arts coordinator Vanna Trudeau thought staging the play at Four Seas would have a positive impact on the play's performers and the community.
I didn't have a chance to see this show when it was produced at Cape Rep, but it was definitely caught my eye, and I really enjoy work that celebrates Cape Cod, gives students an opportunity to really sink their teeth into something different. It's great when they can work with known shows and shows that have this rich theatrical history. But I also get really excited about the opportunity to give them something a little bit more of a challenge, which is working with brand new material that they don't have this legacy to look back on. They're really working with something, from the ground up.
Documentary or fact-based drama investigates important social issues by using newspapers, first-person interviews, or other forms of print material to create original works for the stage. Playwright Allison Weller teaches this method and used it to write Boundless.
I was sort of trained in this process working with a theater company called The Civilians, and we call it investigative rather than documentary theater, but most of the plays that I've worked on involve an investigation into some question or some aspect of real life, and usually that investigation involves a lot of interviews with actual people.
For Boundless, Allison interviewed nearly 40 fishermen and their families, as well as legislators and local advocates. Her research unveiled the story of a struggling industry.
Most of the text of this play is is either verbatim taken directly from interviews or based on things people talked about, and I sort of scripted little scenes. And same with the music in the show. A lot of it is either inspired by or some of the songs have words and lyrics that are taken from the interviews.
Original music was composed for the production by Peter Hodgson.
When Allison approached me about it, I was like, cool, I'll write some songs for something. And then the more I got into it and the more I had read the script and the more I talked to Allison about it, the more I was very intrigued by all of those issues. And it was a new type of theater that I hadn't experienced, and I sort of fell in love with the genre of investigative theater.
Boundless offers entertainment, education, and insight into the life of Cape Cod fishermen, who often struggle to not only navigate the oceans, but the ever-changing tides of new fishing regulations. And it has a lot to teach locals about the place they call home.
Growing up in the Cape, I didn't really know about how much the fishing industry drove this place and how much it's kind of not been eradicated but left due to government regulation and overfishing and all these things that we talk about.
To find out that our local cod isn't local cod that they're serving, and to find out how much these fishermen are basically, what's the word I want to use? They're not getting what they deserve. They're not making the money that they should be making. All of these regulations, I never knew there were regulations on fishing.
It's not only an original play that people may not be familiar with, but it's an original local play. It deals with our actual community that we live in. We're presenting it in the community where the fishermen live.
These are real stories and real issues, and in being involved in this production, I learned more than I ever thought I would about something that really is intrinsically a part of our daily lives.
I see it as a love story to Cape Cod, and not only what it has been, but also what it can be, and that both are okay. We are learning and growing and evolving as a community, and I think a piece like this helps us understand our past and think about where we can go in the future.
Boundless is playing now through Sunday, November 17th at Cape Cod Community College in West Barnstable. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson. There are 3 more chances to catch Boundless at Cape Cod Community College. For showtimes and tickets, visit tildenartcenter.eventbrite.com. Well, that brings this episode of Cape Media News to a close. Please follow us on Facebook, and thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. You can also now send breaking news tips to newstip@capemedia.org. With Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.